The character Demona from the TV show Gargoyles is pretty fascinating, I would say. Pretty tragic character. So the setup here is they have these creatures called gargoyles that turn to stone during the day but come alive at night. Right in the beginning of the show, we see that during medieval times they live in a castle. Unfortunately, we see that for the most part, the humans at that castle don't treat them particularly well, even though the gargoyles defend the castle and do everything they can to be friendly towards the people there. Still, the people tend to treat them just as animals. But then we see that Demona secretly makes a deal. Actually, it's important to note at that point, anyway, her name is not Demona yet. That comes later. She makes a deal secretly with the captain of the guard. Their intent is to have the castle come under the control of the gargoyles because she wants the humans out of the way due to how they've been treated. So first they think that her husband Goliath is going to just send the gargoyles away, so that way the humans can be cleared out of the castle. Then the gargoyles will be left alone. Goliath chooses not to send the gargoyles away. Ultimately, Goliath and some of these a few other gargoyles end up surviving. The rest of the clan is destroyed, which wasn't her original plan. It's not actually what she intended, but unfortunately, we see throughout the show that Demona, as she later becomes known as, is consistently unwilling to ever accept any kind of accountability for the fact that she's the one who decided to sell out the castle to the Vikings in the first place, meaning that the deaths of a lot of their gargoyle clan are on her. She bears responsibility for that, but she's never actually willing to own up to what she did because it always is someone else's fault. That's the thing that's so tragic about her character, is that yes, she has suffered a lot, but at the same time, Demona brings further suffering upon herself, and we see throughout the whole TV show that her biggest character flaw by far is that, well, it always has to be someone else's fault. She's never at any point willing to own up to what she did, never willing to admit when she's wrong or has made a mistake. No, it's just everyone else who's wrong. She's never at any point willing to accept any kind of responsibility or accountability for her actions. Also, it's tragic is that you have this group of humans called the Hunters that end up hating the gargoyles for centuries. They hunt Demona for centuries. They kill gargoyles. How does all this start in the first place? Well, as we see in the show, it's Demona's fault that the Hunters have hunted her for so long. She started this cycle of vengeance in the first place. But we see she forgets this even happened, forgets that she decided to scratch this human's face in the first place, and that's what started this cycle of vengeance that has persisted for hundreds of years. That also is tragic, that this cycle of hatred and vengeance continues even after there's no one left alive that even remembers how this started in the first place. It gets to a point where both Demona and the Hunters don't know why it is they hate each other so much ultimately. They don't know where this all started. Also, what's tragic is that Demona ends up ultimately burning every bridge. She drives everyone away by the end of the show. We see in flashbacks that even though Macbeth was actually loyal, treated her and other gargoyles well, because Demona overhears one conversation, she jumps to the conclusion that, well, this means Macbeth betrayed me, so I'm going to betray him. And then we see that Macbeth is deeply hurt by the fact that after everything he did for the gargoyles, how does Demona choose to repay him? By stabbing him in the back because of her own paranoia and prejudice. Thus, Demona makes things worse for herself, because now Macbeth hates her. Also, by the end of the show, we see that Angela, Goliath, and Demona's daughter is the only gargoyle or human left on Earth that Demona genuinely cares about. She's not willing to let Angela die, but as a result of her duplicity and deception, by the end of the show, she pushes even Angela away. Angela was the only one left who had any kind of hope that Demona could turn things around. But ultimately, Demona pushed even her own daughter away because of her character flaws.